Welcome into SportsSource.tv. This is our overtime segment. Happy to have you with us today. Thanks for being here. Joined, we're going to talk a little basketball recruiting. I know that's been a hot topic recently. We'll talk that with former Vol assistant coach Mark Pankratz right there. Former Vol VFL, I should say. I'll get the emails if I say former Vol VFL. Isaiah Victor right here. Guys, appreciate you being with us. At least on the message boards, the big story is the fact that Tennessee's class of 2017 has zero. It's a goose egg at the moment. You've only got 2 slots because you took a lot of kids this last time. But they haven't filled either of those slots yet. Right now, Tennessee is after Zach Kent. That's a kid that's going to pick between Tennessee and Northwestern. You're from Chicago. Northwestern, not exactly.
They're getting better.
It's not exactly UCLA or Duke you're competing with, so you're neck and neck with Northwestern. He's supposed to make his announcement in the days ahead. The other target is Isaiah Stokes, the younger brother of Jarnell Stokes, but he's looking everywhere. Florida, Memphis, Iowa State, TCU. Apparently he'd like to get North Carolina interested, but doesn't sound like he's someone that's, oh boy, brother went to Tennessee, so am I. Zach Kent is from Middletown, Delaware, 3-star player, 6'9", 205. He's a stick man, but you know a guy who was thinner than that.
Oh, yeah. I came in at 185, 6'9", so yeah. Coach Stuckey and the rest of the crew, they put 20 pounds on me my freshman year, so
You
it
had to
can
be
be
feeling
done.
pretty strong. Once
I was feeling like a bodybuilder at that time.
All right. So when I see 6'9", 205, I shouldn't think stickman. That would have been 6'9", 185.
Well, there you
That'd have
go.
been you. All right. And then you got Jarnell Stokes, who's 3-star as well. He's at the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. He is 6'8", 250. So he's built more like his brother in terms of thickness. Did you guys expect, he's a second year, but did you guys expect more on the recruiting front from Rick Barnes?
Realistically, when I really think about it now, it's going probably how it probably. In the beginning, I thought Rick Barnes, he called Kevin Durant, have him get on the phone with the recruits, and
Right.
all the big name players would come here. Nike was here, but in reality, man, it's going to take some time, and you got to do a little more winning to make it a little more attractive. Maybe style of play can make it attractive to some of the bigger recruits, but.
I did. I thought it would be just go from come to this UT to come to this UT, being at Texas to go to Tennessee, Nike family, Nike school. Coach Lanier with his Florida roots, being an assistant coach at Florida, I thought he'd have some ties there. But then all of a sudden we listen to actually what Coach Barnes says, and like you talked about before, he's going to build his foundation first. And it wasn't necessarily and even with that, being a former coach, we're all hesitant to say that because at the end of the day, if you can go get a 5-star, you can go get them.
the 5-star.
You're going to get them. But he said his philosophy from the start was going to be build that foundation. That's what he's done.
Yeah, and that's we talked about this before we started the segment that last year when Rick Barnes was hired, a lot of Big 12 reporters and a lot of Texas reporters said when he first got to Texas, he built a foundation first. In terms of Kevin Durant, that was in year 9 that he got Kevin Durant to Texas. So he put his guys together, built his own team, and then built it from there. But if you're a Tennessee fan, this is the Nike thing. Everybody thinks, well, you're Nike now, so you just get if every school in the country is Nike, I don't see the advantage. But you're Nike, you go get a guy who had recruited big names at Texas. You look around the SEC. Bruce Pearl is at Auburn, a terrible program. He's getting 5 stars. Now, he's not winning with them. He's had 2 20-loss seasons. If that changes this year, then I think Barnes is going to hear it even more. If he starts winning with these recruits. But you look at Bruce Pearl has the big signees. Ben Howland got a bunch of big signees at Mississippi State, didn't win with them. You had Johnny Jones, went out, got a bunch of big-name guys at LSU, didn't win with them. So there's no guarantee that the 5 stars are going to win. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these guys wash out. We saw it when you were an assistant coach. There were some big stars that came here, didn't finish here. But my question is, if you're a fan, you're still looking at those numbers. Why are people at LSU, Auburn, and Mississippi State able to go out and sign big stars when Rick Barnes has come to Tennessee, much better facilities, and he hasn't been able to have the same success yet?
Well,
Any theories?
I think there's some unspoken theories, but I also think that there's, from a recruiting standpoint, when Coach Barnes took this program over, there was a lot more coaching and changing of culture that needed to be done. You went from a Donnie Tyndall that played all zone to then Coach Barnes who doesn't play any zone, and so there was a lot of stuff that's kept him here in house, because at the end of the day, the people that want to be a part of your program, want to be Vols or already Vols, those are your most important pieces, and then you build from there. But the other programs that have become mainstays, they were built on – Duke was no good, and then Krzyzewski built a foundation, and it all of a sudden grew. And that's what I think Barnes is doing. Yes, he's older. Yes, he's towards the end of his career. But the way that he's involved in that program, he shows no signs of that. He's got a philosophy. We just got to trust that it's going to work itself out.
I say there are a lot of people saying he's old, he's lazy, he's came here, he's got the rocking chair. Are you buying any of that?
Nah, I'm not.
You met did he recruit you?
Yeah, Clemson, yeah. But I don't think that's the case. It's easy to say right now since we had the losing season, and then we don't have any big name recruits. But I don't really care a whole lot about that part of it either. I just want to see how they play. At the end of the day, he's going to train them and he's going to mold them, and they should be good to go eventually. Hopefully the clock don't run out on them though.
And if I can say one thing about the recruiting, about how young we are, the other side of that is, yes, it's good we don't have JUCO guys like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
But the other side, the negative recruiting aspect of it is if I'm Northwestern, who you say we're competing for that kid for, man, look at their roster. They've got 8 freshmen, 5 sophomores. All these guys that are already ahead of you. You're not going to play. So the negative side of it is, why go be another piece there where they've already got the foundation? We used to do the same thing at Tennessee. You look at the roster, who's coming back the year that you're going to play. Look, you're a point guard. They've got 2 point guards ahead of you.
Yeah.
Why go there? So that's part of that's going on too.
And that was my situation. I could have went to UK, but it was 96, and it was like, man, I don't want to be the 13th man on the bench. I want to go somewhere and play. And this was a situation that I liked the best, just because of that.
Let me ask you this. I brought it up during the show. I think in a tough league, you're not going to get to the tournament in a tough league if you're doing it with lesser stars. Now, there's some coaches out there that do it in football. There's some in basketball. The stars don't matter. You don't worry about it. But you've seen teams like Butler. Now, you had a couple of guys on their championship teams that would have been at other schools if they had the grades, that kind of thing. But you've seen schools like Butler, Gonzaga. These aren't schools that are constantly in the top 10 in recruiting, and they're able to make tournament runs, get to the tournament. Normally, if you're in the Big Ten or the ACC, I'm going to say, yeah, you still can't take that kind of team into a conference and make it to the tournament, because it's going to be tougher to get there. But the SEC isn't a very tough conference, at least on paper this year. In fact, you can make the case it's continuing to get weaker. Despite all the stuff they pour in and all their consultants, it's not looking stronger, it's looking weaker. So, does that give Tennessee a little bit more room for optimism this year, off the recruiting thing, but this year's team, does that give you a little bit more optimism that it's not a great league, maybe you can win without the huge talent on the roster, or is that just a pipe dream? Is that just trying to be too optimistic?
I think absolutely it does, because you're right, the league is not very good. It's incredible to me that an SEC can go into a preseason and only have one team ranked. That's incredible to me. With all the athletes, all the talent, and all the money that's put, it's amazing. We've talked about that before. I mean,
you also went out and grabbed a Missouri in your expansion, and you thought, okay, another good basketball school, and they're picked for dead last because everything going on there.
Yeah, but the part of it from the optimism side of thing, the thing that's not optimistic to me about it is I don't know if we're going to be able to rebound our backboard. Yeah, I think we've got, Schofield's listed at 6'4". Williams, who's a freshman, is listed at 6'5". Lou, he's a redshirt senior transfer, averaged 5 points for Utah State. Or I'm sorry, 5 rebounds for Utah State. So can we rebound? And that's where the optimism that these other rosters are bigger. I think we can compete. We're going to win some that we maybe shouldn't.
But you could also lose some you shouldn't.
But the other optimistic part, if I'm coaching, is we're picked 13th. That's awesome. Because if we finish 11th, 10th, we're exceeding expectations.
I'll say this. I do think, and I mentioned this during the show, I do think there's reason to be optimistic in that you've got a lot of guys who you think will be around for a while. And it's been a while since Tennessee's had that. You've had so much coaching change that it's been, okay, I'm getting this guy from Florida Gulf Coast. I'm going to go get this guy from Indiana University, Purdue University, IUPUI, whichever it's,
Ooey
Indiana
Pooey.
University, Purdue University of Indianapolis or whatever. What is it?
We call them ooey pooey
Ooey
up
Pooey.
north.
So now you've got this fan base is pretty loyal. Now, your season attendance over the years, your average attendance has dropped. It's like 6 of the last 7 years. That goes back even to when Bruce was there, even when you were there. It was dropping under Bruce at the end. So there might be a little bit of spoiled in the fan base, but you're still top 10, top 15 in the country, even when you're going, what, last year, 15 and 19? There's a lot of schools that would kill to have that kind of support when you're 15 and 19. Our highest rated month last year, and everybody's like, well, after football season, it's got to be tough. February. Now, you had signing day in there. Bob Shoop was hired, but you had basketball was the main thrust of February, and we get the numbers. So Vol fans, I think, loyal to hoops, and I think that is something that they'll enjoy for the first time in a while, is to look at a kid and say, well, it's like Wayne Chisholm. Chisholm was the last man standing out of that great 5-man class, and you watched him develop and get better every year, and every year you like him a little bit more and a little bit more, and by the time he leaves, people are like, man, I love Wayne Chisholm. You've not had that opportunity because you've been getting guys who had 2 years of eligibility, 1 year of eligibility. I think that's a positive. Now, I understand that they're all mini-me's out there. They're tiny guys, and then you may not win much at first, but I do think at least having a connection to players will be good again for the program.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at guys, Armani Moore, Josh Richardson, Chris Loftons, those are the guys that people still talk about today because they were there for 4 years.
All right, Isaiah, anything to close out with?
Yeah, I just think they're going to play hard. They're going to be smaller, but I mean, to play and no real stars on the team, I mean, you got to fight. You're going to have to earn the spot. Every spot's pretty much up for grabs. I guess maybe Hub might have his spot locked down, maybe Schofield. But other than that, man, you got just a great opportunity to be able to play. You're still in the SEC, greatest facilities, Nike, Rick Barnes. So surely there'll be rebounding is determination, defense is determination. So I think they're going to exude that, and it's going to come from Barnes. Either they do that or they don't play, and I think they got the opportunity. So I think they'll go after.
All right, good deal. Our overtime segment is always brought to you by Blue Smoke Cigar and Smokin' Joe's. Blue Smoke Cigar, the latest creation from Smokin' Joe's. They have the store in Alcoa, Smokin' Joe's, but Blue Smoke Cigar is out in West Knoxville. That is kind of right across from Rafferty's there on South Peters. Really nice cigar lounge. It's got membership if you want to join the club. They've got lockers. They've got poker tables. They've got the golf games where you can stand there and hit actual golf balls into the screen. They'll tell you where it's going. Plus a tremendous walk-in humidor. Blue Smoke Cigar in West Knoxville, Smokin' Joe's in Alcoa. We will see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. on WATE 6. We'll see you Thursday at 7 p.m. on Fox 43. Thank you, gentlemen.